Om Sri Rama, Aranya Kanda. 10 years pass. Rama visited all the holy rishis in the Dandaka forest. They said to him, "We've heard of your brave and valorous deeds. Your fame has already spread throughout the length and breadth of the country. We are greatly troubled by Rakshasas. They constantly destroy our penances. You are our only refuge. We beseech you to protect us." Rama's eyes flashed sparks of anger. His face glowed. With a straight back and expanded chest, he looked the very picture of manhood. His strong arms clasped the bow, one end of which was firmly planted on the earth. His courage, bravery, and heroism showed in every limb, every movement of his. He listened sympathetically to the rishis and granted them his protection. As they moved from ashrama to ashrama, living here a few days, there a month, elsewhere a year, Sita's heart grew heavy. With the acutely intuitive heart of a woman, she probably felt the foreboding of events to come. One day she said to Rama, "Ariputra," in those days, this was the name of highest love and devotion with which a wife called her husband. "Ariputra," she said, "there is something I have wished to say to you for some time now. You know more than I do, and I am just a foolish woman. So pardon me, but I have been thinking that as ascetics, you and Lakshmana should not carry weapons. Only those who have violence in their hearts carry weapons. You were not sent to the forest to kill Rakshasas, but to perform penance. Discard your weapons, my lord. I do not see any good in this for us." Thus Sita shook her head and spoke uncertainly. Rama smiled gently and took her hand in his. "I understand the anxiety in your heart on my behalf," he said, "but I have already pledged my word to the rishis. I have granted them my protection. Now I cannot go back upon it. Besides, it is the foremost dharma of a kshatriya to protect the distressed and to destroy evil. I gave up my duties in Ayodhya in order to fulfill my duties in the forest. We now have to tread the path of dharma together. How can we then differ?" He tried to calm down the rising fears in her heart. Sita was quiet, but a lingering sense of uneasiness would not leave her. The days passed into months, the months into years. They spent 10 years this way, moving from ashrama to ashrama, destroying Rakshasas and bringing peace to the troubled rishis. When their years of exile were almost at an end, Rama had a great desire to visit the sage Agastya in the south. Agastya was a sage of the greatest spiritual powers. There was none equal to him. So one can understand this holy desire of Sri Rama's to visit and get the blessings of this divine rishi. Agastya. There are many interesting stories told about Agastya. It is said that when all the munis and rishis had gone to Kailash to attend the wedding of Shiva and Parvati, Agastya remained behind and maintained the balance on the earth. The Vindhya mountains once became very powerful and started rising upwards steadily. They threatened to obstruct the passage of the sun from the northern to the southern hemisphere. The rishis and devas were alarmed by this and approached Agastya for help. Agastya went and stood before Vindhya. Vindhya, seeing the great sage before him, bowed down low. Agastya blessed him and said, "May you ever remain like this." From then onwards, the Vindhya mountains have been low and humble, stretching across the land, separating partially the north of India from the south. The following little story will give you an example of just how great indeed was Agastya. Once there lived two Rakshasa brothers, Vatapi and Ilvala. Vatapi had a boon from Brahma that no matter into how many pieces his body was cut up, it would always be joined together again. Now the aim of the two wicked Rakshasas was to destroy as many rishis as possible. So Ilvala would dress up as a Brahmin boy and go to some ashrama or the other and say, "Oh Rishi Maharaj, I would like you to come and eat the food I have prepared for my ancestors." Now, under no condition could such an invitation be refused. So the Rishi would have to go. Then Ilvala would serve as food his brother Vatapi, cut up into small pieces and prepared in a most delicious manner. The poor unsuspecting Rishi would eat it. Then Ilvala would ask, "Oh Rishi, are you satisfied?" And the Rishi would answer, "Yes, I am satisfied." Then Ilvala would cry out, "Vatapi, come out!" And Vatapi would tear open the Rishi's body from inside and come out in his true form, an ugly, terrible Rakshasa. In this way, many holy men had been disturbed in their penance, and they, unsuspecting, had been so cruelly killed. One day, Ilvala invited the sage Agastya. Agastya accepted the invitation. When the meal was over, Ilvala asked, "Are you satisfied?" And Agastya answered, "Yes, I am quite satisfied." Then Ilvala cried out in a loud voice, "Oh Vatapi, come out!" Nothing happened. Then he called again, "Vatapi, come out, I say." And yet no Vatapi came out. Agastya laughed in a slow, amused way and said, "Where will Vatapi come out from? He has already been digested by me." Ilvala screamed at him, "What? Have you killed my brother?" And he rushed at Agastya, his teeth bared, his whole appearance terrible with the awful rage of a Rakshasa. And all Agastya did was open his eyes, and there lay Ilvala in an unrecognizable heap of ashes. So great then was the glory of this sage, whom Rama had a desire to visit. When they were near Agastya's ashrama, they could tell it at once. The forest appeared to be bathed in a lovely heavenly beauty. A simple freshness in its flowers, birds, and animals told one at once that this was a place made holy by extraordinary penance and austerities. Rama sent Lakshmana ahead to announce to Agastya that Rama, the son of Dasharatha, his brother and wife, desired to be received by him. A few short moments later, one of Agastya's disciples came to escort them to Agastya's presence. The sage was sitting in front of the sacrificial fire. He had bright, brilliant eyes, a flowing grey beard, and a golden complexion that shone like the sun in the light of that fire. He was a master in military tactics and strategies and an authority on the holy scriptures and Vedas. Rama, Lakshmana, and Sita bowed low before the rishi. He then cast his affectionate glance upon them and rose to give them a fit welcome. One could feel his vigor and vitality even though he was quite old. One could sense his military dynamism even though he was dressed in simple bark garments. He said, "Blessed indeed is this meeting, O son of Dasharatha. I had heard that you had come to live in Chitrakuta. Ever since I have been waiting for you to come to me." His voice, when he spoke, was soft yet deep and mellow. He then advised them to spend the remaining period of their exile in a place called Panchavati, not far from his own ashrama. He said, "Rama, look after Sita well. She has left the comforts of the palace to accompany you to the forest. Women like pleasure and a life of ease. Sita has none of these weaknesses. Take her to Panchavati. Set up your ashrama there. She will love it. It is a place of divine virgin beauty where rivers and streams flow freely and the air is always fresh and pure. Soon your period of exile will be over. You will return happy and peaceful to Ayodhya." When they were leaving, Agastya gave Rama a bow Vishwakarma had made for Vishnu. This bow was divine and was tremendously powerful. Rama's face flushed with excitement and his hair stood on end as he received it. With it, Agastya also gave him 2 quivers of glittering arrows and 2 swords. The three then paced around the rishi and made their way towards Panchavati. Surpanaka, Rama, Lakshmana, and Sita soon arrived at Panchavati. There they saw on a huge tree the immense form of a strange being. They thought it was a Rakshasa. Rama at once strung his bow and said, "Who are you? Tell me at once, else I shall kill you this minute." The huge figure replied softly, affectionately, "I am your father's old friend. My name is Jatayu. I am here so that if you and Lakshmana go out hunting, I can keep an eye on Sita and see that she comes to no harm." Jatayu was a relative of Garuda, the vehicle of Lord Vishnu. He was a vulture. Rama thanked him sincerely and then they set out to choose a spot for their hut. Finally, they chose a place which had fruits and roots in abundance. The river Godavari ran close by. The clean white sand glistened on her banks. There was a variety of trees, the fragrant mango, the sal, the tamal with low branches, the heady champa, the tall dates, and the rippling ashoka. There were dark green bamboo clumps tendering among them the baby green of young shoots. Birds such as the dark kokila and the talkative parrots perched on their branches. Occasionally, the peacock would let out a shrill shriek and then dance this way and that, proudly displaying its gorgeous plumage. A herd of deer, not far away, watched timidly. In the far distance was a stately blue mountain. A river flowed down its side, looking, in the rays of the sun, like a continuous strip of pure silver. Could they choose a lovelier paradise to spend the last days of their exile? Lakshmana was so clever with his hands that he soon had a lovely little cottage ready, the thatched roof of leaves and holy grass supported by strong bamboo poles. The nearby ground was clear. It looked extremely neat and charming. Rama embraced his younger brother with great love and tenderness. From such little incidents, it is quite clear that even a prince was required to have practical knowledge on how one should adapt oneself to circumstances. All that the princes had learned under the guidance of their guru Vashishta had many opportunities now to be put to full use. Their knowledge, courage, and strength could never have been tested and proved had they lived like lords in guarded palaces. The season slowly rolled on. Soon they were experiencing their first winter in Panchavati. Most of the trees had shed their leaves and stood robbed of their beautiful green clothes. The early morning air had a nip in it. One day the brothers and Sita were up early as usual. They had their dip in the cold flowing waters of the Godavari. They offered prayers to the sun and then, pure and clean, they picked their way back to the ashrama. They ate simply of forest fruits and berries. Lakshmana thought how Bharat would be living in Ayodhya. He said to Rama, "Indeed, what a noble brother we have in Bharat. Instead of living in luxury like a king, he is now living like a hermit, sleeping on the hard floor of a lowly hut. Can there be any other like him? How loving, how devoted he is to you." Rama's mind too flew back. He said, "Yes, Lakshmana, his loving words are still ringing in my ears. Ah, how long now before we four brothers come together again?" Thus they sat and talked. Rama told stories of days gone by. Janaki listened with quiet interest and made garlands of tiny winter flowers. Presently, the clouds parted in the wintry sky and the thin, wet sun peeped out. Just then, they saw coming towards them through a clump of trees a woman. Her long hair was loose and hung about her shoulders. Her eyes were red, her lips full and ugly. She was heavily built with a huge paunch. She was dressed in silk, and her ears, arms, and neck were loaded with gold ornaments. Now her gaze rested on Rama, and slowly, swaying a little, she walked towards them. She addressed herself to Rama and said, "Tell me, who are you? What are you doing here? From your bearing, you look like a prince, and yet you wear the Rudraksha beads. From your appearance, you look like an ascetic, yet you carry weapons and have a woman with you. Tell me the truth, who are you?" Rama replied, "I am the son of Dasharatha of the Ikshvaku line. I am in the forest under a pledge of honor to my father. This is my brother and this is my wife." The woman looked scornfully at Sita and spat. She said, "O Rama, I fell in love with you the moment I saw you. I want you as my mate. Know that I am Surpanaka, daughter of the famous Vishrava Muni and sister of the mightiest emperor on earth, Ravana. This area is under the rule of Kara and Dushana, both powerful Rakshasas, both my brothers. I live and roam freely in the forest, assuming any shape I feel like, eating and drinking as I please. Everybody is scared of me." Her eyes glistened as she looked hungrily at Rama. Rama laughed at this, a slow, gentle laugh, a laugh of sheer amusement, a laugh that sounded like music to the ears, a laugh that revealed even white teeth, a laugh that brought out the sparkle in his eyes. He shook his head and said, "Oh, great lady, I am already married, as you can see. It will not be good for you and me to get married. But look here, there sits my brother, just as good looking and with no wife with him. Why do you not ask him? I am sure he will jump at your offer, noble lady that you are." Surpanaka took Rama at his word. She patted her hair and smoothed her silk dress. She walked up to Lakshmana and said, "O prince, accept me as your own. It is your brother's wish. We will live happily in this forest, you and I." Lakshmana told her, Come now, I am not a free man. I am a slave to my brother. You should not become a slave. With your position and high status, you must have the very best. Why not ask him again? I am sure that once he sees the advantages of marrying you, he will leave Sita and be your husband." So back came Surpanaka to Rama. "Rama," she said, "you must fulfill my desire. Nobody else will do, I know. It is this little insect of a girl who stands between you and me. But do not worry, I shall eat her up in a trice." Now Sita felt so tickled by this ridiculous Rakshasi that she laughed outright. Surpanaka was angered at being made fun of. She sprang towards Sita, but Rama came in between and protected his wife. He signaled to Lakshmana. In a split second, Lakshmana had drawn his sword and cut off Surpanaka's nose and ears. She howled with pain and terror. She ran and soon lost herself in the jungle. Kara and Dushana. Surpanaka ran straight to the Rakshasa outpost, Janasthana, where her wicked brothers Kara and Dushana dwelt. They were sitting in court, surrounded by other Rakshasas, when Surpanaka arrived, streams of blood gushing from her nose and ears. At once she started screaming, "Oh, how can you sit there so calmly? Do something about it! Do something about it!" Kara saw her sorry state and said, "Calm down, Surpanaka. Tell me clearly what has happened. Who has done this to you? Tell me, I shall have him punished." Then Surpanaka told him how it had come about that she had lost her ears and nose, but she did not repeat the part her own shameful lust had played. She laid the entire blame on Rama and Lakshmana. Kara then summoned up 14 of his mightiest generals and sent them to deal with these puny human beings. Surpanaka went with them to watch what would happen. When Rama saw the Rakshasas approaching, he said to Lakshmana, "Brother, hurry up and take Sita to a cave. Guard her there. I shall deal with these single-handed." Lakshmana did as he was told. In no time, the powerful shafts from Rama's bow had reduced the Rakshasas to unrecognizable heaps of flesh. Surpanaka, her rage doubled, ran back to Kara and gave him the dismal news. Kara could not believe what she said. Why, those 14 were his best generals. So a Rakshasa army again set out, this time consisting of 14,000 powerful, ugly demons led by Kara, Dushana, and Trishiras. Rama saw the army approaching the banks of Godavari. He decided he would tolerate their impudence no more. Deputizing Lakshmana to protect Sita, he donned his armor. He shone fiercely like the noonday sun as he waited for the Rakshasas to draw near. Then, as they advanced upon him, brandishing their terrible maces, clubs, swords, and spears, he sounded his Kodanda bow. That sound itself was enough to strike terror into the black hearts of the Rakshasas. Yet they advanced, still not quite aware of what lay in store for them. One by one, and sometimes many more than one at a time, fell as Rama shot his powerful arrows at the Rakshasas. They fell one after the other like ripe fruits from a tree. When most of them had been thus killed, Dushana rushed upon Rama, gnashing his ugly fang-like teeth. Rama pierced his huge chest with a well-aimed divine astra. Seeing Dushana fall, Trishiras, the three-headed Rakshasa, came striding towards Rama like a huge mountain. Rama struck off his heads one by one, till finally he too fell to the earth with a terrible crash. Seeing Dushana and Trishiras thus laid to waste, the remaining Rakshasas turned to flee, but Kara gave them fresh inspiration and brought them to fight. Now Kara knew he would be no match for Rama, but nevertheless a true warrior never flees from a battlefield, and Kara was determined to go down fighting. So Kara and his Rakshasas attacked Rama with even uprooted trees and huge boulders. Rama grew just a little weary of it all and rested his bow for a moment. Meanwhile, one of the Rakshasa arrows injured his side. Now Rama was quite determined to finish off these Rakshasas as soon as possible. The Devas and Gandharvas had gathered in the heavens to watch the battle. They had cheered when Rama had made such a small job of destroying the Rakshasas. Now they prayed that Rama would be successful in killing the powerful Kara. Who can describe the glowing majesty of Rama's form as he stood facing the Rakshasas? His radiance was like the golden rays of the sun shedding their light all around. He stood there, mightier than the mightiest, his feet firmly planted on the ground, his eyes flashing with a divine purpose, his mighty arms now wielding the dreadful Brahmastra. There was nothing of the gentle, kind, loving Rama in this, his glorious warlike form. The Brahmastra destroyed Kara and his remaining followers, save one, a Rakshasa called Akampana. Flowers were showered from heaven. The Devas happily cried, Jai Rama! The Rishis blessed Rama when they heard that the awful Kara and Dushana were no more. The colossal bodies littered the banks of the Godavari. The river itself became a crimson color. So much blood had flowed into it. Rama mopped his brow. He was well satisfied with the day's work. His face was again calm and peaceful. Within a matter of just 3 hours, he had reduced an army of 14,000 mighty Rakshasas to a lifeless heap of flesh. And he had done it single-handed. The Rishis and Devas declared that indeed Rama was born with a divine purpose to destroy all that was evil in the world and to establish the law of Dharma. With supreme love in our hearts, let us pray that the evil Rakshasas within us may be destroyed by the powerful weapon of Ramanama, and that we may come to feel in our bosom the divine glowing presence of Sri Rama. For wherever he is, evil cannot be. Path of ruin. Akampana now presented himself in Ravana's court and bowed down low before him, trembling from head to foot. Ravana was sitting on a throne of gold, a crown studded with diamonds, rubies, and emeralds on his head. He had vanquished kings of the three worlds. He was indeed the most powerful of emperors on earth. His son had defeated Indra in battle and had earned the name Indrajit. Ravana had big red-like eyes, like smoldering coals, thick bushy eyebrows, and a fierce black mustache. He had a huge frame which made a man look like an insect in front of him. No wonder then that Akampana trembled before him like a leaf in a breeze. Ravana roared at him and said, "Say, man, what you will. Don't stand there trembling like a spineless worm." Akampana asked Ravana for his protection. Had he not done so, Ravana would surely have had him killed for giving him the news he did. Akampana then related to Ravana all that had happened, how Surpanaka had been humiliated, and how Ravana's own brothers Kara and Dushana and their entire army had been wiped out. Ravana was furious. He rose at once and declared, "Who are these puny men? I shall destroy them at once." But Akampana stopped him and said, "Ravana, heed my words. Do not go and seek battle with Rama. He will reduce you to pulp. When I say no one can fight with him, I mean no one. If you want revenge, you must plan it carefully. Rama has his wife with him. All the beauty in the world put together will not equal her charm. The only way is to carry her off. If you can do this, Rama, unable to bear separation from his wife, will surely die. Think it over carefully, Ravana. Plan and then act." Ravana said, "You're quite right. I think I will do as you say. I will set out tomorrow morning." Next morning, he yoked his powerful horses to his chariot and drove to the ashrama where Maricha lived. Maricha was performing penance when Ravana reached him. Ravana told Maricha how a large number of the Rakshasa race had been wiped out by Rama and how he was bent on revenge. He said, "You are the only one who can help me. I have outlined to you my plan. Now you must tell me what I am to do." Maricha said, "Ravana, I have your welfare at heart. If you ask me, you should leave Rama alone. Do not even go near him. He is indeed God on earth. Of what use will it be to provoke him? He has killed many Rakshasas, and as long as they trouble him and the holy rishis, he will continue to kill them. My advice to you is, leave him alone. What will you gain by fighting him? You've got all the glory, name, and fame of the three worlds." Maricha had already been taught a lesson at Vishwamitra's yajna. Ravana thought this over. He found it appealing to his reason. He decided to accept Maricha's advice. Even his lust to possess the beautiful Sita faded away. He went back to Lanka, his capital, sane and subdued. But when God wants to work his plan, he finds more than one way to do it. Ravana was wickedness itself. He had disturbed many number of yajnas, troubled any number of rishis, defeated any number of devas, and carried off any number of women. If Rama stood for everything that was dharma, Ravana stood for everything that was adharma. The world was now growing heavy under his many acts of evil and violence. But in spite of all his faults, he had a regal bearing. He looked every inch a king as he sat there, bedecked, bejeweled, the glory of a powerful court surrounding him. Ravana, when wickedness was his very nature, how could he listen to good counsel? So, when Surpanaka tumbled into his court the next day, wailing about her nose and ears that had been cut off, Ravana's indignation was roused afresh. Surpanaka too related the incident very cleverly. She said, When I saw Sita sitting there, her beauty soft yet bright like the full moon, I said, "Ah, this is the very bride for Ravana." So I made a plunge at her, and Lakshmana punished me by cutting off my ears and nose. I did it all for your sake, brother. Now you must get me Rama's blood to drink. Till then I shall not be satisfied. Oh, think again of the great insult done to our noble Rakshasa race. How can you just sit back and indulge in your own pleasure? Get up like a true Rakshasa. Kill these men and win for yourself the most beautiful wife in the world. Ravana promised Surpanaka now that he would indeed take revenge. The entire assembly was dumb with horror, thinking of what the fate of the Rakshasas would be if Ravana picked a quarrel with Rama. Ravana again mounted his chariot and clattered down the forest to Maricha ashrama. Maricha, dressed like an ascetic in bark garments and matted hair, looked surprised to see Ravana again. Ravana started, "O Maricha, I have decided. Indeed, great are the faults of these sons of Dasharatha who have dared kill so many Rakshasas and maim my own sister. Rama, I hear, has been banished from his own kingdom for a grave crime of his, I am sure. And what a hypocrite he is, pretending to be an ascetic, yet enjoying the company of a woman. I have quite decided that he must be put to death. There is none equal to you in courage, strength, and powers of magic. Therefore, you must help me. Now, this is what you must do. You must change yourself into a dainty golden deer with silver spots. Then you must go before Sita and frolic and play about. She has the heart of a woman. She will at once be attracted to you and will send Rama and Lakshmana to catch you. When they are thus away, I will carry her off. Rama will grow weak with grief for her. He will lose his manliness and strength. Then it will be an easy job to kill him." Now Ravana spoke as if it was his sense of honor and duty as king of Rakshasas to avenge himself. But actually it was his growing lust and passion to possess gentle Sita, of whose beauty he had heard so much. Maricha saw all these. He had already once been punished by Rama. Besides, he was now an ascetic and he was wise. As Ravana filled in details of his horrid plan, Maricha's eyes looked horrified. His throat became parched. He felt the end of the Rakshasa race. He felt the noose tightening. But Ravana was his king. He had to obey. He looked at Ravana with a vacant look in his eyes and slowly nodded his head. The death knell of the Rakshasa race had tolled. The plan finalized. And yet Maricha's heart would not give consent to this scheme. He decided that he would try reason with Ravana once more. He said, "Ravana, yesterday when I talked to you, you agreed that this was not a right thing to do. Today, your mind has again been corrupted by somebody. I'm warning you, Ravana, again and again. Do not bring ruin upon yourself. What makes you think Rama has been banished for a crime? Who told you he is false and pleasure seeking? There is, in fact, none in the world equal to him in virtue, truth, and nobility. He is in the forest fulfilling a pledge given to his father. He is like an Indra on earth. Do not cast evil eyes on Janaki. Her blazing anger will burn you to ashes. Take her from Rama indeed. Are you mad? Can anyone steal the light from the sun? Ravana, you are only bringing ruin upon yourself and the Rakshasa race. Think well. Your people are now leading pleasant, comfortable lives. If you carry out this wicked plan of yours, I can only hear the wailing of widows and orphans and the city of Lanka burning so that its blazes cannot be put out. If you are angry with Rama, why do you not call him out and fight with him? Why do you not die a hero's death? instead of stooping so low as to carry away his woman. Think well, Ravana, for your sake and for the sake of others. Ravana's eyes blazed with anger. He was driven by lustful desire to possess Sita. Nothing could stop him now. No amount of good advice would help. He was like a sick man rejecting good medicine. He turned round on Maricha and said, I did not ask you for your advice. I am your king and it is your duty to obey me. I shall kill you if you do not. You shall come with me now to Dandaka. There you shall transform yourself into a golden deer. You will enchant Sita, and then when Rama comes after you, you will lure him far away from the cottage. You know the rest of the plan. Maricha had no choice. He had to obey. So he said, May the Lord help you, Ravana. From this day you are doomed. As for me, I shall be most happy to die a death at Rama's hands rather than be killed by you. Ravana was satisfied. He wanted nothing more. They got into an aerial chariot and flew towards Dandaka. The golden deer. Winter had slowly, gently been left behind. It was now early spring. The trees and branches were sprouting tender shoots. Tiny little white and pink blossoms popped their pretty heads from dark bushes like stars in a night sky. The grass was a fresh green and the dew on it looked like pearls. The whole forest had a touch of freshness about it. The birds chattered ceaselessly and the sun was welcome, warm and comforting. Mother Earth smiled happily to see the bright faces of her children. And when Mother Earth was happy, her child Sita too was happy. And this happiness, like a warm glow, spread all over her and flowed out around her. So one morning, when the sun was up and the birds were chirping, Sita was out among the trees and creepers, plucking some flowers to make a garland. Suddenly, the sun's rays flashed something golden among the green leaves of the trees. Sita saw it. It was the most beautiful deer she had ever seen. It was shining as bright as gold and had delicate silver spots on it. Its eyes shone like two jewels. Its ears were small and pointed. It would stop now and again to nibble at the tender leaves or to look at Sita with its large eyes, as if inviting her to play. Sita was now completely fascinated by the deer's unusual beauty. She longed to play with it, to feed it the green grass with her own hands. But the moment she came near, the deer would run away a little further. Rama was sitting in front of the ashrama and watching the fun with a smile. Now Sita ran up to him and said, Arya, that deer, I would like to have it as a pet. It is by far the most beautiful creature I have ever seen. In any case, our 14 years of exile are almost up. If people in Ayodhya ask us, what have you got from the forest? We must be able to show them something they have not seen before. Think how beautiful it will look in the palace garden, leaping from bush to bush, around trees, across lawns, round and round the pools of lily. Lakshmana, who was standing nearby, said, Brother, careful, I think it must be a Rakshasa in disguise. Ever since I cut off Surpanaka's ears and nose, they have been trying to trap us in one way or the other. I feel we should leave it alone. Rama listened to them both, Sita soft and pleading, Lakshmana hard and warning. Sita saw that Lakshmana was against capturing the deer. That made her even more determined to get it. She pleaded again, Oh, please let me have it. If you cannot capture it alive, at least kill it and get its skin. It will be a lovely thing to sit on. Lakshmana said, It is a trick. Then Rama thought, if it is really a deer, then Sita can have it and feel happy. If it is a Rakshasa, there is no problem. I will kill it and get rid of it. In either case, I have nothing to lose if I go after the deer. To Lakshmana he said, Get my bow and arrows. I shall go and get the deer, dead or alive. Lakshmana was not happy about it as he handed the weapons to Rama. Rama clutched his bow, strapped the quiver to his back, and said, I shall soon be back. Do not worry. I will come to no harm. Lakshmana, look after Janaki. Anything may happen while I am away. Guard her well. Do not leave her alone even for a single moment. Thus saying, he turned on his heel and strode out to capture the gambolling deer. Lakshmana frowned as he watched Rama disappear into the forest. Usually it was Lakshmana who would act hastily and impulsively, and Rama would have to calm him down. This time it was Rama who acted with haste, leaving Lakshmana suspicious and angry. The trap. The deer frisked away and led Rama deeper and deeper into the forest. Just when Rama thought he had got it, it would jump nimbly out of reach and disappear behind a clump of trees. Then it would reappear some distance away, and Rama would be after it again. This leading and chasing, this new game of hide and seek, went on for a long time, till at last Rama's patience came to an end. He decided to shoot the deer that he might at least get the skin for Sita. So he strung his bow and fixed an arrow to it. Then, taking good aim, he let it go. The arrow swished through the air and pierced the deer. Rama never missed his aim. But as he watched and saw, a strange thing happened. As the arrow pierced the deer, it regained its true form, that of Maricha, the Rakshasa. Maricha fell to the ground with a crash. In a voice exactly like Rama's, he cried out loudly, Ha Lakshmana, ha Sita, alas, alas, save me, Lakshmana, Sita. Rama's wonder grew. First the Rakshasa disguised himself as a deer, shining like gold, and then, when dying, called out Lakshmana, Sita in Rama's voice. Surely some trick was afoot. He thought of Sita and a panic rose in his heart. But then he calmed it down by telling himself, what harm can she come to? Lakshmana is with her. Ah, what a good brother he is. I can trust him any time. Thank God I have him with me to help me. And Rama, tired but happy at having killed the Rakshasa, made his way back to the ashrama. And then his mouth ran dry. He stood stock still, rooted to one place, as if carved in stone. For there was Lakshmana now, hurrying towards him, frowning fiercely, bowed, clutched tightly. Rama is disobeyed. In the Parnashala, Lakshmana and Sita had been waiting for Rama to come back. Sita excited with the thought of possessing a unique deer, and Lakshmana a little anxiously suspecting it to be a trick. The unnatural stillness of the air was suddenly shattered as they heard from far away a pitiful cry in Rama's voice. Ha Lakshmana, ha Sita, alas, alas, save me. Sita started like a frightened deer. Her eyes grew large and scared. She turned to Lakshmana and spoke quickly, her breath coming in short gasps. Did you hear that? Rama is in trouble. Hurry up and go to his help. He needs you now. Oh, don't just stand there and look at me strangely. Did you not hear his cry? Did you not hear him call for help? Go, Lakshmana, go. But Lakshmana would not budge. He just stood where he was, feet apart and planted firmly on the ground, his arms folded across his chest. Nothing doing, he said. This is one of the Rakshasa's tricks. Rama has left me behind to look after you. He will never die a miserable death at the hands of a Rakshasa. His strength and power are such that he just cannot be defeated. Do not worry, Janaki. Rama is all right. Then Sita beat her breast in agony. She trembled like a young sapling in a strong breeze. She turned her fury on Lakshmana. Lakshmana, have you too become our enemy? Is this what you've been waiting for all these years? And I thought you were loyal to Rama. Oh, what a snake you have turned out to be, waiting for Rama to die so that you can take me. Well, I can tell you this, I will never look at a man other than Rama. If you do not go this instant, I shall prepare a pyre and burn myself to death. Sita's cruel words pricked Lakshmana's pure sensitive heart. He put his fingers to his ears and said, "Stop it! Stop it! I can bear it no more. I cannot bear to hear it any more. I have never looked upon you as anything but mother. Your words are like poison in my ears. Oh, mother, that you could doubt me so. But I tell you, I know these Rakshasas. They are very cunning. They are playing a false game with us. Do not force me to leave you and go." Then he saw Sita's angry, tear-stained face as she bent to gather wood for the pyre. So he said, "All right, I shall go at the great risk of disobeying my brother. Look after yourself, mother. Do not let any strangers come near the ashrama." So saying, Lakshmana, with long strides, disappeared behind the trees. Ravana carries off Sita. Sita stood there watching him till he was out of sight. She leaned back wearily, her body still shaking with small sobs after the emotional strain. Now she closed her eyes and passed a hand over her tired brow. She remained thus for a few moments. When she opened her eyes, she saw before her a mendicant with a begging bowl in his hands. He was tall and stately and wore the orange garb of a sadhu. Sita was a little startled to find him staring at her so. This then was Ravana, dressed as a begging hermit to deceive poor Sita. She bowed down to him as was the custom and was about to turn inside to bring him bhiksha. Ravana looked and looked at her, and the more he looked, the more his hunger grew. Truly, he had never seen a more beautiful woman before. Even Surpanaka and Akampana in their descriptions could not do her justice. How delicate she looked, like a clinging creeper, as she leaned against the bamboo pole. How dark her tresses, like rain-bearing clouds. All these thoughts of her beauty he could not keep in his mind. They came out on his tongue, and in many different ways he began praising her beauty. Sita did not like it. Sita did not like the look in his eyes. Sita did not like that a sadhu should take so much interest in a woman's beauty. So she turned again to go inside. Ravana took a step forward and caught her wrist. The villain! How dare he touch her, the divine consort of Sri Rama? How dare he? He went on to say shamelessly, "Do not go, Sita. I am no wandering hermit. I am Ravana, the greatest king in the three worlds. Come with me and be my wife. I will give you untold wealth, jewels, and magnificent silks to wear. I will give you the grandest palaces in the world, if you will but be my wife." And he resumed his own form, a tall, terrible Rakshasa, burning eyes, fearsome to look at, and clad in red silk, a crown of diamonds on his head. Sita was frightened, terribly frightened, but her virtue shone as her eyes flashed anger. She glowed like an angry goddess. "You wretch," she cried, "leave me alone. My husband will come and cut you to pieces. Know that he is Ramachandra, the greatest among men and the bravest. No one has ever defeated him, and no one ever will. Did you think that even for a moment I would come with you, you low, base creature? If you want to save your life, go away immediately. Once Rama comes, nobody will be able to save you from his deadly shafts. Away with you." Sita's purity gave her courage. Now Ravana threw off all praise and gentleness. He knew he would never win over Sita like this. So he caught her hair with one hand and with the other held her wrist. Thus he dragged her to his waiting aerial chariot behind the trees. Sita cried out loud, "Oh Rama, where are you? Oh, save me! Oh, best of friends, Lakshmana, why did I not listen to you? Why did I send you away?" The chariot rose in the air. Sita struggled hard, but Ravana kept her pinned down. Poor thing, the more she struggled, the tighter his grip on her grew. She cried out to the trees, birds, and animals to tell Rama what had happened. They all looked up at her sadly and shook their heads. What could they do against this ugly, powerful Rakshasa, a friend in need? Now Jatayu happened to be sleeping atop one of the trees. He woke up at the sound of a woman in distress and soon recognized the voice to be Sita's. He flew up in the air and challenged Ravana. He tried to reason with him first. Ravana, he said, I am Jatayu, the king of eagles. You too are a king. Your duty is to protect women. Instead, you are doing this shameful act. And Sita, a princess too. Stop this adharma, I tell you. If you leave her now, you might escape Rama's wrath. I am weaponless and unarmed. You are fully armed. But I tell you that your chariot will not budge an inch forward unless you have answered me for this act of yours. He attacked Ravana's chariot with all the gusto he could muster. He fought bravely like a true king. Sita asked him to stop fighting, to go back and tell Rama and Lakshmana what had happened. But Jatayu could not bear to see Sita's distress. He attacked Ravana even more fiercely than before. With his talons and beak, he tore off huge chunks of flesh from Ravana's back. He killed the demon-faced mules of the chariot and smashed the vehicle itself to little bits. Ravana, still clutching Sita, fell to the earth. Jatayu attacked him again and again from all sides, his bird eyes glittering like glass beads. Sita watched with a beating heart and fearful eyes. Now Jatayu's strength and vigor started failing him. After all, he was very old. Ravana took advantage of this fact. With a swift motion, he drew out his sword and cut off Jatayu's wings. Jatayu fell down, bleeding profusely. His whole body had failed him. He had tried his best to keep his promise to Rama. The bird hero was unable to move. Janaki ran to his side and embraced him, saying, "Oh, my brave father, how you fought to save me. You have even laid down your own life for me." And she wept over him. Then Ravana came striding to catch her again. She ran behind the trees and clung to them, crying piteously, "Oh, save me! Please save me! Rama, Lakshmana, where are you?" At last, Ravana caught her up by the hair and dragged her along. He sped across the sky like a thundercloud. Sita looked like a flash of lightning. The flowers from the garlands she wore were scattered down. The sun suddenly grew dim. A darkness descended upon the earth. Terror enveloped all living creatures. The Devas were sad beyond measure. They shed silent tears and said, "Dharma has fled from the earth. Ravana's adharma has gone too far. His destruction is not far away." Prophetic words these were. Sita turned to face Ravana. She beat his chest with her small clenched fists. "Let me go, you villain! You boasted so much about your valor and your power. Is this the way a warrior behaves? If you truly come from a royal family, you are bringing it infinite shame and disgrace. Rama's arrows will surely seek you out. You will meet with the same fate as the other Rakshasas." But Ravana was fully swept away on a tide of lust and violence, and no amount of pleading or threatening on Sita's part would make him let her go. They flew over mountains, rivers, and forests. In one place, Sita saw some people standing below. She took off her jewels, tied them up in a sash, and threw them down. She hoped Rama would see them and come to know the direction in which she had gone. Ravana flew over the river Pampa and right across the ocean till they finally arrived at Lanka. He gave charge of Sita to a few hideous-looking Rakshasis and instructed them, "Look after her well. Let her not lack in clothes and jewels. Treat her with the greatest care and respect." Then he went on and gave orders that some of his Rakshasas should go to Janasthana and do careful spying on Rama's activities. The Rakshasas were instructed to bring back correct and detailed information. Ravana again went into Sita's presence and pleaded with her to become his wife. Almost as if he did not see the look of scorn and contempt in her eyes. Come, Sita, you are the most beautiful woman in the world, and I am the most powerful king. We would surely make a good pair. Why weep for Rama? He is a useless wanderer. He is no good for you, and in any case, you will never see him again in your life. There are hundreds of miles of sea between you and him. The shores of Lanka are very well guarded. So, how can you hope to see him? Come now, I have never begged anyone like this before. I am doing you this great honor. Sita stamped her feet in rage and contempt. Her virtue and piety were a constant source of courage to her. Never, never, she cried. Ravana scornfully said, Is that so? Very well then, I shall give you a year's time. If by then you do not respect my wishes, my cooks will cut you up and serve you as my breakfast. So saying, he strode away. Never before had he been so strongly opposed, and that too by a woman. He instructed Rakshasas, more hideous than the previous ones, to guard her closely. He said, Break her pride, scare her wits out, make her love me. She is now to be treated like a wild elephant. Sita was then taken to the Ashokavana. It was a beautiful garden outside the palace, but it was lonely. Poor Sita only had ugly Rakshasas as her companions. They would make the most ghastly faces at her and try to scare her. Sita would sit under one of the Ashoka trees, her hot tears flowing down her pale cheeks. Her heart would keep repeating, Rama, Rama. Somehow she hoped he would be able to come and save her. Sad, lonely Sita only had the thought of Sri Rama to give her comfort and hope. Now let us see what was happening to Rama and Lakshmana. Rama is anxious. The brothers met. The fear written on Rama's face was echoed by the anxiety on Lakshmana's brow. The worst of Rama's fears was confirmed. Lakshmana, he cried, what is this? Why have you disobeyed me? Why have you left Sita unprotected and come here? Did you not know that the cry was a hoax? Ah, Lakshmana, I fear what could have happened to her. Rakshasas must have surely eaten her up. Lakshmana said, Brother, I knew the cry was one to take me away from Mother Sita's side, but she grew so anxious and beat her chest with such anticipated sorrow. Not just that, she accused me of having evil intentions towards her, because I would not listen to her and run to your aid. Oh brother, how could I tolerate such an accusation? She even made to prepare a pyre to burn herself if I did not go. Brother, what could I do but come? Rama said, Nevertheless, Lakshmana, you should not have come. You know how foolish women are. You should have regarded this as a foolish whim of hers and stayed on. They hurried towards their hermitage. Sita, Sita, they called out, but there was no answering call. The ashrama looked gloomy without her cheerful presence. The birds were silent. The flowers drooped their heads. The animals had tears in their eyes. Rama turned his head this way and that. He searched behind rocks and trees, by the sides of the lakes and pools. But there was not a trace of Sita to be seen. Now, for the first time, Rama lost his self-control and a fog enveloped his mind. Sita was his very being. How could he live without her? He asked all the trees individually if they had seen Sita. Oh Kadamba, did you see her by the riverside, the kamandalu in her hand and the water pot at her waist? Oh Ashoka, why do your leaves tremble so, as if in ill omen? Oh you sandal tree, you creepers whom she loved so much. You dark mango, can none of you tell me where my Sita is? Thus he lamented. Lakshmana tried to bring an air of reason as he said, Brother, after showing so much courage and fortitude at your banishment and our father's death, after consoling the hundreds who mourned, it does not behove you to grieve so. I am quite certain that although Sita is not here, she is not dead. Let us leave aside this unintelligent grief and carry on with our search for her. Rama, after his momentary emotional outburst, regained his composure. The two then set out southwards to continue their search for Sita. Let us read a meaning into this grief of Rama's over the loss of Sita. Each one of us, like Sita, is the beloved of the Lord. When even a single one of us is lost to him, his anguish becomes as great as Rama's was when he found that Sita was missing. Let us always stay close to him, as close as possible, so that he may never experience this terrible grief on our account. The faithful Jatayu. As they walked on, Rama saw some flowers scattered on the ground. Look, Lakshmana, he said, the very flowers I plucked for her this morning. Let us look for more signs. A few yards ahead, they saw the small footprints of Sita and large footprints alongside, presumably those of a powerful Rakshasa. There were definite signs of a struggle. Rama said, Lakshmana, whose bow is this, lying in bits here? It is studded with many precious stones. Whose crown is this? Its jewels mingled with dust. Whose broken chariot is this? There lies the charioteer, dead with the snapped rein still in his hands. Oh, look at these awful-faced mules. Lakshmana, there has been a fight here. Sita was definitely pursued by a Rakshasa. But what has happened to her? Has she been eaten up? Is she dead? Alive? Oh, if only I knew! If only I knew! Then he looked around again. He found a few broken beads from Sita's jewels. His sorrow dropped off like a cloak and was replaced by a blazing anger. Which shameless creature had assaulted his Sita? His eyes sparkled, red and angry as he said, Lakshmana, here and now I shall destroy this wicked world where no goodness and morality are left. This world does not deserve to live if it keeps in its bosom such a snake as this Rakshasa. I shall dry up the oceans, douse all fires, stop all winds, and darken the sun. The world will be no more. And he began adjusting his divine astras for a total world destruction. But Lakshmana stopped him. Hold, brother, he said. Because of one wicked Rakshasa, you are out to destroy the world. Why? You have killed hundreds of Rakshasas. Why do we not go after this one and finish him off too? I always remember, brother, your teaching of universal love and goodwill. Then why punish the innocent ones in the world for the crime of a single Rakshasa? Rama was calmed. He put away his astras. A few yards away from them lay a huge form. On coming closer, they found it was the old bird king Jatayu. His wings and legs were cut off, and he lay there in a pool of blood, gasping for breath. Rama and Lakshmana quickly knelt by his side. They washed his wounds and asked him what had happened. Jatayu, in a feeble voice and with great difficulty, narrated how Sita had been carried off by Ravana. A tear tricked down from his old eyes as he said, Forgive me, dear Rama. I was unable to prevent him from carrying her away. I did my best to stop him, but he was much too powerful. I have lived this long only to give you information about the princess. Now travel south. That is the way Ravana flew. I seek your blessings before I die. Rama, Rama. His eyes closed gently as his life escaped from his much battered old body. The brave old king of vultures was no more. Rama and Lakshmana were sad beyond measure. They mourned the death of faithful Jatayu, Gathering faggots, they lit a funeral pyre and performed his last rites. Here again, they had suffered another great loss. Jatayu is famous in the Ramayana as one of the Bhaktas of Sri Rama. He laid down his life for the sake of his Lord. Little by little, we learn that Ramayana is not just the story of a brave prince. It is a divine epic which has come to be the living breath of every Hindu. As a plant thrives in sunlight, as a fish thrives in water, as a child thrives in his mother's womb, so too a Hindu thrives on the Ramayana, which is his own life's blood. The slaying of Kanda. Now, here we see Rama surviving one sorrow after another with a calmness and cheerfulness that is unmatched as he moves along. Brave and courageous, assisted by his brother Lakshmana in his attempt to establish good and finish off the evil in the world. Rama moves and lives like an ordinary human being, but one who has perfected himself through great self-discipline. The Lord, having taken human birth, having assumed a human body, lives in its limitations of dust and tears. And the play goes on. As they pass through the forest, Rama and Lakshmana were suddenly seized by a hideous-looking monster. He had no head and legs, but only two huge, long arms which could stretch out and capture any prey. He had a mouth in the stomach region, thick, ugly lips, and long, pointed teeth. In the chest, he had one huge eye, red and ugly. Rama and Lakshmana struggled in his clutch, and seeing that his whole strength was in his arms, they threw out their swords in a flash and chopped off his arms. The monster, Kanda by his name, fell back in great pain. Then he said to Rama, Lord, now my memory comes back to me. I am really a heavenly being, but once I frightened a rishi by assuming a grotesque form. He cursed me to remain so till such a time as I would be liberated by you. Now build a fire and burn up this body, please, that I may be free again. We, living in the world in vain, searching only to grab at things to eat and fill our stomachs, with only one eye for the enjoyments and with no eye for the Lord, are Kabandas. When Rama chops off our grabbing hands, Trishna, desire, suddenly we come to remember our divine nature, and as we get liberated from our ugly, at once cruel, horrible, terrible nature, we become divine children. Rama and Lakshmana burnt up the ugly Rakshasa's body, and from the flames arose a beautiful form which got into a heavenly chariot. He advised them, go to the banks of the river Pampa, seek the help of the Vanara king Sugriva. You are sure to regain Sita. He resides on the Rishyamukha hill. So saying, the adorable form disappeared. Shabari. On the west banks of the river Pampa was the ashrama of Shabari, an old tapasvini. She was a disciple of the sage Matanka. When he departed his life, she too wanted to die, but he told her lovingly that her time had not yet come. She had to wait, for she would experience the supreme bliss of the darshan of Sri Rama, an incarnation of Lord Vishnu. So Shabari stayed on, spending her days in prayer and austerity, till at last Rama and Lakshmana reached her ashrama on the banks of the Pampa. The old saint, her body old and wrinkled, her hair completely white, trembled as she welcomed Rama to her ashrama. Praise burst forth from her lips. Her life was indeed fulfilled. Here was Sri Rama himself. O Lord, she said, I am indeed blessed that you have made my ashrama holy with the touch of your feet. Pardon me, I am old and foolish, and wash your feet with my tears. My entire life spent in Guru Seva has had its reward in this moment. Lord, what should this humble tribal woman offer you? Here, in love have I gathered some forest fruits, that you may not find any bitter or sour. I have tasted each one before placing it before you. My humble offering, please accept. Thus, with folded hands and bowed head, she requested Rama. How simple, how innocent, above all, how high and pure her devotion to Rama. Shabari is yet another example of supreme bhakti. Lakshmana frowned as she placed before them the tasted fruits. He did not want Rama to eat something which had already been bitten into by someone else. But Rama smiled gently and ate the fruits with great relish. His love for his bhakta flowed out from his eyes. Withered old Shabari felt its embrace. What more could she want? The Lord always accepts whatever little we offer unto Him, provided we offer it with pure, untainted love. Shabari's moment was now over. With their permission, she lit a fire and entering it, ascended to heaven. The princes continued on their journey in their search for Sugriva. Their minds were much elevated and strengthened by their meeting with Shabari and contact with the water of the river Pampa.